Welcome back to the Comics Podcast, where me and my mom look through our comic book collection 2 issues at a time. Today we're starting with a Marvel comic, Fantastic Four 234, Who Is He, What Is He? The Fabulous FF Face, the Man with the Power. This is from John Byrne's run of the Fantastic Four, so he does the art and the writing. And this is about like 3 issues into when he started on the Fantastic Four. 232 was his first with Diablo. And I think he had done some Fantastic Four covers before this. But I've been reading the Fantastic Four from the very first issue, chronologically. So I've made it to this point finally. And I really like it so far. I read this one for the podcast, and we actually have a lot of these.
Oh, really?
Regular issues. Yeah, we have.
What's the earliest that we go back?
I think we have like in the 60s or 70s.
Really?
Yeah, we have pretty early. Like we have some Jack Kirby, Stan Lee ones from when you got them for me for one of my birthdays when I was younger. But for the John Byrne ones, so this is in 81. We have this one in comics, and I think we have the Diablo one, and then some other ones, but we don't have this issue, so I was curious to read it in this collected version. And it's a really offbeat kind of story. I liked it. So I didn't know who the villain was.
Yeah.
Based on the outline, you can kind of tell it's this guy.
Yeah, that square haircut.
Yeah. So it's called The Man with the Power, and it starts with a Shakespearean quote. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Then there are those who live their lives in obscurity, unaware of the greatness they harbor within. This is the story of such a man. He is L.R. Skip Collins, and he may be the most powerful man who ever lived.
But his taste in art is a little rough.
Yeah, he's got like a bullfighting scene.
On Black Velvet.
And
big-eyed child playing the ukulele.
Exactly. You don't have that? So, he's going through his morning routine. There's a little misprint there. I think it's supposed to say looking at him, but there's just the ing. I don't know if it's some printing error. It just looks like it got cut off on the tops of the letters there. Looking at him, you would not expect to notice anything extraordinary. He has the look of a man mired in mediocrity, and that is what he is. So he's going through his morning routine, and he notices that the house is a little messy, and he thinks to himself, like, I know Ellie has a full-time job just keeping up with Leroy Jr., but sometimes I think it would be nice if this place would clean itself up. So it does. When he comes home tonight, Skip Collins will assume his wife found time to do the housework, and Louisa, stirring in her sleep at the vague feeling that something has happened, wakes to the sudden order and assumes that Skip, ever thoughtful Skip, has done the tidying.
Whoa.
So he has like some kind of reality warping power.
Okay, that's
where he
interesting.
wants something to happen and it happens. And then they do show the limits to the extent of his powers in the next scene. So he's going through the living room and sees, his youngest son still living at home in the kitchen already. Junior, gosh, you're up early. Gosh, no, I ain't. I only got home a half hour ago. Now shut up, will you? I'm reading.
Jeez.
So he has his Playboy magazine, and he's all hippified. Reading? That hardly seems appropriate material for the breakfast table. You know how it will upset your mother. Then tell her not to look. I do wish you wouldn't talk back like that, son. Your mother and I make so few demands. Strikes me, that's a few too many, old man.
What a jerk!
I know.
Wow.
Sigh, why do I even bother? I can't get through to him at all, but I do wish he'd get a haircut. And so Skip departs, knowing that the next time he sees his son, nothing will have changed. Perhaps because he does not wish to exert too strong a control over his children, or perhaps it is that even the greatest power must have limits. So he's driving to work and still unaware of how he affects his surroundings. When he gets caught in traffic, and he's saying, oh, brother, a traffic jam, I'll be late for work. If only I'd left a half hour earlier, I'd have missed it. And it becomes a half hour earlier simply by virtue of the fact that Skip desires it so.
That seems like it would be a lot harder for the universe to do than cutting his Grateful Dead kid's hair.
Right?
That's bizarre.
Well, it's also weird that he's so, like, he's just so tuned out that he doesn't
That he
notice
doesn't
that
know- yeah.
reality's warping.
True.
Does time traveling a half hour earlier wipe his memory or something? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's weird. He works at Acme Aglet. I think aglets are the thing in your shoe, right? The little circle or it's like it's a fastener or something. Isn't an aglet something like that? Like where you
I don't know.
lace up your shoes. There's like the little.
Yeah, I used to know
I think
the
that's
name
what
to that.
it was. But anyway, he gets to his office and he found that he lost his key, or he left his key at home, and he sees that his backup key is locked behind the door in the office. Fuss and bother, I should leave the door unlocked. The whole factory is guarded. What could be stolen? I should leave the door unlocked. And so the key levitates off of the hook and zigzags itself right into the lock there.
Wow.
What was that noise? Sounded almost like, well, I'll be darned. Guess I must have left it open. I should have checked. He's so quick to dismiss things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's completely different, I guess. So, who knows? In so frail a pattern as the one Skip has constructed for himself, one disruption might lead to another. Collins, got a moment to talk? The boss. Sure, Mr. Wilkins. Collins, you've been with us almost 20 years now, and we've never had reason to fault your work. That's why I've decided to ask you to do me a favor. I have a business meeting in New York. He's a little simple looking. I have a business meeting in New York on Monday morning, but I also have to be at my daughter's piano recital in the afternoon. Little Babs would be really disappointed if I missed her recital, so I'd like you to handle that meeting. Me, go to New York. So this is how Skip is going to meet the Fantastic Four. He doesn't, I don't want to spoil it, but they don't have like a direct confrontation. So during the flight, somebody's reading looks like the Daily Bugle. Reagan says no to talks. Another XGI is leukemia victim. They have like, in the earlier ones, it'd always be like, Spider-Man is still a menace.
Right.
Or like, Fantastic Four defeat Galactus. But it's weird how some of the comics choose to engage with the culture of the time and some don't. So we get Skip's origin story while he's, I guess he sees that headline. He says, that headline about XGIs. The article says a lot of soldiers who were involved in nuclear tests are real sick. I was in some of those tests. And unbidden, Skip's mind rolls back the years to review a much younger version of himself in 1955. No one asks questions in the Army, so no one asked why his regiment was on maneuvers in Nevada. No one even asked when they were trucked 200 miles out into the desert and told to sit with their backs to the north and their hands over their eyes. There's a curious picture. 50 GIs squatting in the chill dawn, feeling like jackasses, and all sure they'd heard deserts were supposed to be hot. None of them had the slightest notion of just how hot a small part of the desert was about to become, as someone somewhere pressed a button, and for just a moment the gates of Hades yawned wide. The light hit them first, that awful searing light, so bright that for one terrifying instant, through his tightly closed eyelids, Skip Collins saw the bones of his fingers etched against the glare. Then came the heat, and the awful endless blast of sound, like all the bombs in the world exploding at once. But the worst came over the next few weeks, as he and the others in his platoon were subjected to all manner of mystifying and embarrassing examinations, including that panel with that doctor asking those dumb questions. Eventually they were all passed as unaffected. Skip had decided not to tell them about the odd buzzing he'd developed in the back of his skull.
Jeez.
25 years later, that buzzing is still there, though Skip hardly notices it these days, certainly not over the pounding of his heart as he checks into his hotel room and prepares to fulfill a lifelong fantasy to play tourist in perhaps the greatest city in the world.
Wow.
So in addition to seeing the Statue of Liberty and going to Carnegie Hall and Radio City, and Broadway and 42nd, those are all the things pictured behind them. What is that? The Flatiron or whatever. Yeah, and I guess the World Trade Center behind him too. But one thing he really wants to see is the Baxter Building. It's interesting to see it among these other
Wow.
storefronts or building, like facades or whatever.
Yeah. I wonder if in the comics they do like they do on Bob's Burgers and they change them, change the businesses on either side.
I know in earlier versions, I feel like the Baxter building was more spaced out or depicted by itself. But yeah, it's pretty dense down here. So he's looking at a little guidebook. The
Now,
Baxter,
see, that's how I think about it. That's very modern looking. And here with the big awning and stuff, it looks like it's a theater or something.
yeah, it makes it look a lot more grounded in like what I imagine the city to look like. I know that facial expression.
Ooh.
Look at Reed's frilly jacket.
Yeah, and his
He's got
hair.
like fringe.
And Sue, the way they did her little curls.
She's got a very modern haircut compared to some of the. I guess they
50s.
just went with the style of the time, but I think it started in '61, and her hair definitely looks dated even
Yeah.
then. I feel like so he's like, I wonder, dare I follow them? So he is kind of
He's a
he
fan.
recognizes them, and he's trying to just shadow them. When they see a little girl up in a burning building, and of course Reed is going to stretch out and rescue the kid.
You wonder if his mod suit stays on, and he just stretches up out of
Yeah,
it.
there it is. See, the arms came, they're like dangling down there. And he just extended his legs at that point. Then
That's
his arms.
hilarious.
That's his fringe coat made from unstable molecules, so it
Right.
doesn't get torn up. So the building's about to come down, or I guess it wasn't a fire. I think they're going to demolish the building.
And some kid
Yeah,
was
it's
in
scheduled
there.
to be demolished. So they're worried about the shrapnel and such. So the Invisible Woman makes like a little force bubble
Nice.
because they're too close to the explosion, the demolition, and she can make like a front end
yeah.
loader, like earth mover sort of thing, and scoop it all up. That's one thing that it took them a long time to figure out in the early days of the Fantastic Four is like she's not just going to turn invisible and like steal a key off somebody's belt and
Right, or pickpocket, or
but I like the idea that she can make objects out of her ability too. That's pretty cool. So just as they think they're getting things under control, they feel a rumbling under their feet, and they look up, and the tops of the buildings are all being torn apart by these giant waves. It's causing everything to crumble.
what the heck?
Like the image in a reflecting pool, the mighty towers seem to shimmer, then shatter. Some kind of invisible waves striking the buildings. Read, the whole city's crumbling. So she's shielding them from the falling boulders or rubble. And Skip is...
He's skipping through.
Yeah, he's skipping through the devastation there.
He's got a nice thing going. His blue bow tie, and then his little shoes.
Yeah, he matched his bow tie to his shoes. They're in the FF blue, too, so you can tell he's a super fan. I've got the blue shoes.
Ben, he's wearing jeans.
I know, it's funny, they...
You don't picture him in jeans.
I know. He's often just wearing underwear. When he's
Yeah,
ready to
true.
fight, he's like, I just need my undies. But he's at his old pilot buddy Clancy's bar, and they're talking about the old days. Oh, those old days were old when we were pilots. Remember when? And then all of a sudden, he says, Ben, it's an earthquake. Earthquake, nothing. Feels like we just got drop kicked by Galactus.
Yeah, that's weird. It's like imploding. Whoa.
And he had, I guess, huddled over Clancy to rescue him from the wreckage. And, we're kind of just seeing, as you might guess, each member's what they're doing when it happens. So Johnny is with Frankie Ray, and her story is that she's afraid of fire, but they're trying to date, and he's like, I'll try not to be on fire that much around you.
Right.
She's like, oh, really? You would do that? And he's like, well, okay, this time I have to turn on fire. And she's like, you know I don't like it. I don't know, it's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
So all these people are falling out of her apartment building, and he makes a
Whoa.
hot wind, like a cone, to levitate them.
Slow them down.
Yeah. I do like how he makes these sharp angles
Yeah, that is
when
funny.
he's flying. That's a cool way to depict it. But yeah, that reminds me of the Flash, where he makes like those tornadoes by running in a circle.
Yeah.
Can levitate things. It's kind of a rip off of that. So they're all gonna convene in the Baxter Building, and be like, what the heck happened? And we're told that obviously the Baxter Building stands because it's reinforced for all the shenanigans that go on in there. They've got to have. Yeah, they got to have a really sturdy building. They have Doctor Doom showing up every other day. So, unnoticed by Johnny on the street far below, we see Skip.
Oh, great.
Oh, this is dreadful. Dreadful. I wanted to see the Fantastic Four in action, but not like this. Not like this. And, the Pentagon is in communications with Reed. Hardly that... So you say this was not a localized effect? Hardly that, Richards. London and Paris are in flames. Our Iron Curtain sources inform us that Moscow has been leveled. Reports of savage destruction are coming in from all over the world. The president was visiting friends in California, and the whole West Coast has gone silent. So he has some theories, but they're going to survey the wreckage in the old
pods.
Fantastic car. Yep, they're going to get in their little bathtub pods or whatever. It's funny how they're different shapes, too. Like, they have squares, and he's like, I want the semicircle one. So they blast off, and Skip says, oh, there go the three of them. I feel so useless. If there was only somewhere I could go, some way I could be of help to them. But how could someone like me help the Fantastic Four? Perhaps simply by being in the right place at the right time. Elsewhere. So they're going to help these rescue crews.
Saving people, trying.
Yeah, they're trying to get through the wreckage to get down to the subway.
Oh, gosh.
Johnny's like, I could burn through that. It's going to take them forever. And, of course, Sue uses her bubble to prop up all the damaged stuff. I do like this. The
artwork is fantastic.
I know. I love the detail on the wires, and I really like John Byrne's thing. He's one of my favorite things.
He's very angular and very not specific, not detailed and specific, but very, stylistically, he does a great job with him.
He's got his underwear on. He's ready to go.
He's ready to fight.
So he's trying to support this bridge because there's a freighter underneath, and the freighter's snagged underneath this collapsing bridge. So the thing is grabbing the cables and trying to keep it up, but it's even too much for him when Skip is witnessing, and Skip says, my goodness, the thing, but he looks in distress. If he's as strong as I've read, he shouldn't have any trouble with those cables. So... oh, hey, what gives? Feels like I'm getting stronger. Or no, the bridge is getting lighter. How can that be? And so as soon as the freighter is freed, it gets heavy again, and the bridge breaks. And a piece is going to collapse down onto Skip. Skip Collins has barely enough time to react before the crushing weight slams him over the river. Oh, geez. For a moment, the stone missile seems to hang motionless. You can see his little arm behind there.
Whoa.
Then, like the arm of some vengeful god, plunges beneath the waves, closely followed by 400 pounds of orange fury. So if you're ever wondering how much the thing weighs...
400 pounds.
I would have thought more, honestly.
Yeah, he's made out of rock, right?
So the thing goes to rescue him, but there's no body or anything. So he's disappeared. When he sees the flare, the Fantastic Four flare in the air, so I guess better get out of the water and go back to the Baxter Building. And Reed is saying, the destruction was not generated from within the Earth itself, Ben. The whole planet has been deluged with gravity waves originating somewhere far beyond the solar system.
What?
It's as though some incredible force was using gravity as a kind of sonar to probe the Earth. New York seems to have been the worst hit because the effect narrowed or focused here. I can only guess at the intent of the probe, but the meaning is clear. An attack from outer space.
It's always the aliens.
So I like this rocket takeoff because you see the Baxter Building exterior, and then you see the slow launch, and it zooms out to Skip's vantage point. The Fantastic Four's rocket. They're launching into space, leaving the Earth behind. For them to be running away, the planet must be doomed. This is terrible. It should never have happened. It should never have happened. Like the futile prayer of a small child trying to undo a wrong, make it never was. Somewhere deep within the radiation-altered brain of Skip Collins, The psychic mechanism kicks into overdrive. The power surges out of him. Irresistible waves of incredible energy ripple across the city, across the structure of space and time itself. All over the world, that which has been is twisted and turned into that which never was.
Ooh, I like this, how they...
London, Paris, Moscow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice, it's radiating in two directions, and you get this
it's coming out of them
left to
two
right.
ways, too. Both ends.
I hope I'm not getting the butt waves.
That was for Moscow.
In a resurrected and somehow strangely peaceful New York, what? My goodness, I must have been daydreaming. How in the world did I manage to walk all the way over here? And look at the time. If I don't hurry back to my hotel and get changed, I'll be late for the Broadway show Mr. Wilkins gave me a ticket for. I must find a taxicab. And so Skip Collins moves off into the gathering dusk, vaguely aware that the annoying buzz in his head is gone. It will never bother him again. So, meanwhile, the FF are in the rocket and they're leaving Earth's atmosphere when they see all these asteroids and then these weird tendrils and all this swirling. So, they're never aware of Skip.
Yeah, and
Following
Skip is
them
never
or having
aware
this-
of his power.
Mm-hmm.
He saved the entire Earth, and he's never
He doesn't
aware of
even
it.
know he did it.
But his headache's gone.
Yeah. And meanwhile, they're like, what are we, being drawn into? But it's Ego, the living planet.
Oh.
So he's affecting Earth's gravity and sending out those sonar waves. Creatures of the third planet, hear me. I have tracked my enemy here across the boundless reaches of the cosmos. Now I mean to destroy him and all your puny world as well. I am the living planet. I am Ego. So
Does
that's a
Hulk-
great splash page to end
Yeah,
on.
it is. Does Hulk fight Ego?
I think so. I think he did in one of or he was mentioned in one of the issues that we read where Hulk was in space, I want to say. But yeah, Ego pops up in a few people's comics because it's easy to associate him with Guardians of the Galaxy because of that movie. But I think he was actually, according to the next issue, there's a recap, and he was big in Thor. Like he, originally, I guess Galactus wanted to eat Ego, and so Ego got Thor's help to repel Galactus.
What?
But then Ego turned out to be evil, because I guess the deal was that Thor was like these race of wanderers don't have a planet, so Ego's like, they can live on me if you save me from Galactus. But as soon as Thor left, he consumed all of them and absorbed them into his planet. So then Galactus and Thor teamed up to strap a rocket booster onto the back of his planet head and make him go flying off.
Why didn't Galactus just devour him?
That's a good question. I guess you'd have to read Thor to figure that out. But
Yeah.
So he's actually a Thor. It's fun how Thor is a space fantasy kind of mixture like
Yeah.
that. Where, Guardians leans more into the sci-fi element, but he's
Yeah.
definitely a Thor, Fantastic Four, Hulk adjacent character. Ego's a really weird character. I really
Yeah.
liked that Ego issue too. They're all crawling through like his interior with a bomb, and we'll have to get to that later. But yeah, I really enjoyed that Skip issue just because they in the next issue they don't address like why is New York all back to normal or anything.
Right,
I guess they'll just never know that he saved the day.
It's almost like when he cleaned his house and stuff, his wife just assumed and he just assumed and his power just kind of made
I
everybody...
just thought everyone fixed everything while we were in space.
Yeah, so everybody in New York is like, oh, they did a pretty good job cleaning up.
Yeah. So our DC comic for the week is
September
Detective
1939.
Comics, number 31.
Wow.
So this is pretty early in Batman's history.
Yeah, it's nice artwork though. I like how the castle blends
His
into
ears
his
are so
cape.
long.
His ears are really long.
They're almost like horns.
Powerful and awesome.
Very Dracula looking cover.
Yeah. The mysterious Batman again appears to oppose the evil forces of a terrifying master of crime known as the Monk.
He's powerful and awesome.
And, yeah. Wow. Yeah, his ears never go down. They're always
At least
quite
they're
large.
thinner. It's weird when they have a width to them. Like they're a little thicker at the base of his, where they meet his head. There, he almost looks like that. Who's that Disney villain? The Maleficent. or something.
yeah.
Like that kind of headdress thing. right, Batman.
Okay. So here we go. We've got Batman through the dark of a New York night. So he's in New York.
He's a weird
Sit
menace
down.
to all crime.
Batman, weird menace to all crime.
At last meets an opponent worthy of his mettle, a strange creature, cowled like a monk, but possessing the powers of Satan. A man whose powers are uncanny, whose brain is the product of years of intense study and seclusion.
What's he doing in New York? Do they talk about it, or was he just kind of
I wonder if Gotham was invented later in his
story?
history.
Yeah, in his
Originally, he's a New
mythos.
Yorker.
Yeah, he cites his quarry. I have been sent to you by the master monk. Help! Wow! So she's the one, as if answered to the doomed man. Who are you? Remain until I give you leave to go. Ooh, he's so formal.
You can tell she's a Satanist because of her red robe.
Because, well, yeah, the Batman recognizes his fiancée,
Oh.
Julie Madison. Julie, you? What? What am I doing here? Who are you? Wait a minute. Okay.
And she's got a red car.
And she's got a...
Why is he facing this way and she's facing the other way? He's so close to the dashboard.
Put the seat back, Batman. But if you're taking me home, how do you know where I live? Why won't you talk? You won't tell me a thing. But won't you tell me who you are? Tell your fiancé, Bruce Wayne, all that happened. Good night. And look at how he's walking this way, and his head is turned this way. This is, he's going out the window. Yeah, this is, the artwork in here is
His belt
fantastic.
is twisted that way, but it looks like his butt is there. So, like, is
Yeah.
he straddling the window?
I think
It's a weird way to, it's a little off.
Yeah, but it's great in its own way. The next morning, Bruce Wayne is called to his fiance's home. Bruce, there's something I must tell you. A man dressed as an enormous bat found me last night on the street, about to kill a man. She's like, arms crossed. Can you believe it? Good Lord, Julie, suppose you had. We'd better see Dr. Trent right away.
Oh, so she didn't have control over herself. That's why she had her arms out. She was in some kind of trance or something.
Well, yeah, back then, everybody in a trance. Your arms and Frankenstein it. And scarcely 2 hours later, young lady, I've seen victims of an expert hypnotist exhibit your symptoms. Don't you recall anything that would suggest something like that? I advise an ocean voyage.
You don't get that diagnosis very often. My prescription? Do you want to take advice from the guy with that kind of complexion?
Well, look at what
looks
he did
ill.
to Bruce.
Yeah, he needs
He's
to
got a
eat some meat.
Batmobile.
Yeah, that's his bat plane. Yet as Dr. Trent talks, Bruce Wayne notices his staring eyes and wonders, yes, an ocean voyage to Paris and perhaps later to Hungary, the land of history and werewolves. Underline. How did he pronounce that to make it underline?
That is hilarious.
One ticket to Paris, please. Port cabin.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like the crack the doctor made about werewolves, Julie. He's offended. Don't talk smack about werewolves. It's not a joke.
Not in front of Bruce Wayne.
He seemed hypnotized himself when he gave you that advice, but maybe I'm imagining things.
Oh, Bruce.
Of course you are. I've worried you, but I'll be good. I promise. Back in the Wayne mansion. I like how he puts his costume right on his bedpost. Julie should be surprised to know her Batman is her future husband. And in a secret hangar known only to himself.
What the?
It's a room with just one door. It's completely empty of all of this.
Except
Like,
the
how did he get
Batman.
it in through the door? Oh, the ceiling opens
Oh,
up.
wow, there we go.
And every wall is a different color. So he's got a yellow floor, a light green wall, a light blue wall.
Oh,
and the
my
ceiling is red because it's a Satanist ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
And the whole of it's red here, but it's
But up there it's
gray.
That is so bizarre.
2 new weapons for my bat gyro, in which to follow Julie, and the flying batarang, modeled after the Australian bushman's boomerang. And so he takes off. I will give him this credit, like, a lot of the early Marvel comics, there's like, they over-explain of like, oh no, now I'm losing control and I can't stop punching. I'm going to accidentally hit him, like in the moment. These have a lot of panels, these early Batman, of just action, of just him looking down at something, and they're not like, oh, I wonder what's going on down there. It's just him just looking down. They let you make up your own mind about what he's thinking.
Look, a bat underlined. The end of the world. We're attacked by Martians. He looks, and out to sea, while on board the Lunar Lady, a monster bat flying over the ocean.
That must be where they got, how he's so stiff in the movies because he can't turn his head? Well, he was stiff even back then. He looks a little awkward.
Yeah. And so he's flying and checking on Julie, but he just looks. I mean, like the Fantastic Four would have panels that would tell them all the information's going on and everything. And he's looking.
Looks like I'll just land down there.
Fixing his automatic controls, the Batman prepares for a visit. So he climbs down.
His gyro has automatic, like you can just hover in place without him. That's pretty impressive for the time period.
You here?
Julie explains her plight to the Batman, and so that's why I'm here. Look out! The eyes of the gaunt figure seem to burn. He is the arch-criminal, known as the Monk. The man has uncanny powers. I seem to be hypnotized. It is harder and harder to move. That reaction. By a tremendous effort of will, the Batman leaps into action. The spell is broken. The Monk evades the batarang. The Batman leaps for the rope ladder. The Batman, The Batman, anxious to get to the bottom of this mystery, follows the ship and the Monk to Paris. Paris at last.
So, wow, his plane just...
He just left him on the boat with Julie and just followed them from a distance on their boat. The search begins. He's just looking again. He's the master detective. We don't need his inner monologue.
That's
He's
true.
detecting.
The trail leads everywhere. Everywhere. That's hilarious. Help, the devil himself.
I would not think that's the devil himself. If something like that was on the top of my car. Like, what are you doing up there?
Are you okay? The weird figure is seen all over Paris until one night, Julie, at last.
But a warm reception has been prepared for him.
Julie in a gorilla suit. The Batman nimbly dodges the huge ape, only to fly through a sliding door and tumbles down, into a gigantic net.
This is... have him fall on the floor and die.
Exciting.
Caught like a rat in a trap as the net closes about him, the Batman once again faces the diabolical Master Monk. Rash mortal, to dare face the power of the Monk. Look below you at your fate. When I pull this lever, the net begins to drop slowly into the den of snakes. In a flash, the Batman flips his batarang. The net stops in its downward flight as the batarang knocks over the lever. Continuing on its upward sweep, it crashes into a glass chandelier.
Nice.
The Batman grasps the batarang in the broken glass. It catches... I like that it can deflect off of the lever without losing enough momentum to also shatter
the
glass and return to his hand. That's some really good boomerang chucking.
Well, yeah.
Look how narrow his eyes are. He's pissed.
A heroic gesture, but a futile one. The lever will remain down this time.
Yeah, all he's got to do is go back and, you stopped me for a second.
Working against time, the Batman severs strand after strand, freeing himself none too soon as the snakes are... And then he sides, it's like he's running sideways into the tunnel. The Batman, full pursuit of the fleeing Monk. Suddenly, a barred door drops between the Batman and the Monk. Die here, you fool, while I send the girl, Julie, onto my castle in Hungary to feed my werewolves.
You just see the legs.
The gigantic gorilla is lowered as the Batman is caged by bars all around him.
It's hard to get a sense of the depth.
Yeah, it is.
The perspective. It looks like he's stepping on his head. Like they're in the same field of perception. Oh, wow. He's big. Where'd the bars go?
Wow.
The Batman makes a desperate leap for the rope that lowered the gorilla. As he climbs hand over hand up the rope, he sights the guard about to draw a gun. The batarang hits its mark.
Nice. That batarang is coming in handy.
All the guys that work for him wear red, too.
Right.
The idling Batplane hovers above the Batman as a powerful car races towards Hungary.
Powerful car.
The shadow of the Bat follows it. Bat has 2 underlines. The Batman prepares to board the car from the air. He's got
Nothing ever catches on his ladder as he comes down. And just lands. He's a glass pellet filled with what is that? Gas is thrown into the car. Whoa! The car swerves into a tree.
Oh
The
my
monk
God.
knew better than to come, but I can save Julie. So he grabs
I think she
her.
didn't die in that car crash you caused.
Right? The Batman makes a valiant leap for the ladder of his Batplane. With Julie safe, the Batman plans on vengeance.
Poor kid. That's how he plans his vengeance.
And sets his automatic controls for Hungary, home of the vicious monk and his werewolves.
Continue the thrilling adventure of the Batman and his combat against the mysterious monk. What plans has the monk in mind? Why does he want Julie? See that next episode of the Batman.
This is
I
fantastic.
have to finish it because these are short ones. Is this going to be a continuation of... This looks like a different, unrelated adventure. Is this even going to have the monk in it?
It's got you. Oh, there he is.
There's that
there
monk.
There he is.
So now this is number 32 of Detective Comics.
That's an
Also in this
interesting cover.
issue and others. So, this must have been like a or B story
Oh,
to
gotcha.
accompany like a crime narrative. That's why they're so short. A lot of the early guys, like Tales of Suspense, I think was, or was it Amazing Fantasy that? Because Amazing Fantasy was where Spider-Man got his start, but he was just a shorter story before he got his own magazine. So it must have been a similar thing.
Right.
So, following his fiancée, the Batman, in reality, Bruce Wayne, has trailed a sinister figure, cowled like a monk, into Hungary.
This is nice how they give more detail to his cape.
I know, I like the lines in the sky. That's really
almost starts to the framework that he has now. Like everything is framed out and his gliding cape and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of gives a nod to the future, which is kind of cool. Like an animal of prey. The Batman watches his quarry. The colors are fantastic. Really, really saturated. He just follows alongside.
He's just walking branch to branch. They make his movements so over the top these days. It's funny to see the more modest action scenes.
On the end of a silken cord, the Batman races overhead and drops like a huge bat onto a speeding carriage.
That's a cool panel, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. Whoa.
He whips out a glass pellet of choking gas, and the fumes overcome the occupant of the cab. That's cool.
Whoa.
Panel. Instead of his quarry, the monk, the Batman finds, what? The eerie figure.
What does he do to him?
He just picks him. He just give him the backbreaker. Kills him.
Oh, God.
The eerie figure returns to his Batplane. I don't know who she is, but I have a feeling I'll soon find out. Strange for anyone to be traveling alone way out here, and yet the monk, I wonder. The Batman arrives at his hotel, embedded deep in the Carlathan Mountains in Hungary. She's coming too. I hope Julie is safe. So I like that he just picks this guy, but he just throws him.
He's different than Batman today.
You don't know if that guy's evil.
True. All the carriage. What? Look at all the horror movies of people going to either Dracula's castle or into the mountains where werewolves are, the carriage drivers are usually people who just warn.
Yeah,
You
what
know,
if he
they're
just
like,
got hired for that gig and he's not in
Right.
on the scheme? He's like, why are you doing the backbreaker?
Not the backbreaker again.
That's why Bane did it to Batman so many years later.
That was my
That's
great
probably,
grandfather.
yeah, that was Bane's origin story.
Oh, who are you? My name is Dala. I seem to have been kidnapped by your friend here. That night, the Batman safeguards his fiancée and the stranger.
He sleeps outside their door.
Oh my God. During the night, the Batman hears sobbing moans. To the open door comes the woman, Dala. The Batman is startled to note blood on the woman's lips. And fears for Julie's safety. Oh no, she's got the Satan aura around her.
Gonna
Suddenly,
hit him with her Oscar.
suddenly Dala snaps out of her trance, grabs the statuette, and the Batman is stunned momentarily, allowing the strange woman to escape.
I love that red burst behind him.
Yeah. This is great.
The Batman returns to Julie, whose throat shows 2 red spots, marks of the vampire.
Oh, crap.
I should have known, never should have trusted her. She won't get far. That's a really cool panel.
Yeah, it is.
Like a plummet, the Batman overtakes his prey.
Like a plummet.
I've never heard that expression. Like a plummet.
Like a plummet is just a
Plummets,
noun?
yeah.
Isn't it usually a verb?
Exactly. I wonder if it's the name of a grouping of birds or something. Like a crow's a murder.
Oh.
I don't know what a plummet would be. A group of black bats falling. A group of dead bats falling from the sky. You shall talk now, Dala, you witch. I thought you an accomplice of your evil master who calls himself the monk. So you are vampires. You want to know where the monk is? You fear him. Well, I do too. I'll tell you where you may find him if you promise to kill him. I'll be the judge of that. Where does the monk hide? That's a great panel of his eyes, too.
Wow. Wow. In the lost mountains of Kathia, by the, what is it?
Turbulent river.
Turbulent river.
Des. I shall
Des.
guide you.
Her hair is fantastic. This money will safeguard you. I'm going. You must fight against the power that calls you to this monk. Oh, I will fight. I will. But I am so afraid without you.
This is very Dracula-like.
Yeah, it is. And so the Batman and Dala depart on their weird mission.
She has a whole yellow raincoat on.
Toward the stronghold of the monk, wings the eerie bat plane. Oh, that's a nice wings. I like that. Suddenly, the Batman sees.
She's like, shouldn't we fly a little higher? We're going to run into a tree. You're almost scraping the gravestones. It doesn't go that high. It's not made for 2 people.
It's got feet dangling. A great silver net that seems to operate by magic, which drags the bat plane earthward. Oh, no.
That's like the cross-hatching I would do as a kid.
Oh, that's great. You fool! Pitting your puny body against the mighty monk. What? She's turning on him?
My friend, the Batman, so you are still alive. Ah, Dala, welcome. By his marvelous hypnotic powers, the monk slowly overpowers the Batman. Like the skull and crossbones on his forehead. You must get rid of this Batman. I think a taste of the werewolf den would help.
What?
Wait, your vengeance must be perfect. First, you must bring Julie here. Make the Batman suffer, knowing to what fate the girl is doomed. By a tremendous concentration of will, the monk forces his power through space. The monk's mind fastens on Julie's will, compelling her to come to him. So she sticks her arm straight out, as you do.
The helpless Batman sees his fiancée drawn into the monk's trap. Soon your Julie will be as we are, werewolves, to ravish on all living men, and you shall be dead, helpless to avenge her. You just imagine them standing there for hours as she's walking slowly.
Any moment now, you'll be dead as soon as she gets over here.
But I'm thirsty. You want a snack? The Batman is forced to suffer in silence. You have done something to him. His eyes are suffering, but he cannot move. Oh, you fiend! into that den of wolves which I shall call from the forest. You shall be cast to die by their thirsty fangs. Wow, before the Batman's horrified eyes, the monk begins to change.
I like that you can see his digestive tract or his bones or whatever that's supposed to be.
Ew! The monk, as a wolf, howls the gathering call to the mountain wolves. Ooh, and they all come. And from the surrounding mountains, the wolves gather.
They have white teeth.
He changes. Oh, he's in his wolf form under his cape. That's weird.
Yeah, what the heck?
You shall be thrown into the arena below to die at their rending fangs. As you are screaming in death, remember that Julie will be a werewolf herself in time to run with their pack on moonlit nights. So what? They're like mixing vampire lore and werewolf. It's
funny that they do the 2 neck punctures and explicitly mention vampires, but then they're like, well, let's lean into the werewolf thing. We alluded to that and I kind of forgot.
Yeah, and like in some movies, all you need is to be scratched by a werewolf. It's not even, it has to be a bite. So yeah, that's weird.
As he is pushed forward, the Batman's senses suddenly return to their full power. He twists in midair and tries a desperate throw with his silken rope. His cast fails, and he falls into the wolf den. Batman swiftly extracts a glass pellet from his belt. He has a lot of pellets, though.
He likes that gas. Batman's got gas.
And gas in the exploding pellet overcomes the wolves. I can hold the wolves off only as long as my gas pellets last. Then it's over. The light but strong rope fails to carry to the pit's edge. Toward dawn, the wolves awake.
Oh, and they're
Salivating.
drooling. Wow, flashing fangs again menace the Batman. The Batman's fingers find his hidden batarang. So he throws it. The wolves are getting ready to jump. Oh no, wait a minute. One strong cast will win me freedom. The batarang slips past a stone post and the rope holds. The Batman
I guess he threw another gas at them and then attached
He must have, yeah.
It's kind of a weird transition.
Yeah, because this looks like a vial that he's pulling out.
Yeah.
And then he grabs,
Better gas these dogs again. It's good for them.
And like, he waits until dawn for them to wake up and then does
You
it.
think they would turn back into humans after passing out from the gas?
Well, at dawn, yeah.
Oh, okay, it's a time. So as long as it's night, they'll be werewolves.
Yeah, this is a weird...
They look like just regular wolves, too. I always expect werewolves to have a human, like they stand upright part of the time.
Or a little more upright, yeah. Right.
I guess they're kind of standing upright. That guy's always kind of rearing up.
He's taller than the rest. The Batman climbs to safety and then seeks his vengeance.
Uh-oh.
Looks like he's like... Oh, that's funny.
Safe so far. Now for the others. Did we miss a page?
No. So Julie's just in bed.
A silver statue. While the vampires sleep during the daytime, I shall melt the statue and make 2 silver bullets, one for Dala and one for the monk. Only a silver bullet may kill a vampire. And to find the open tomb in which these vampires sleep and bring them death, that will release Julie.
Wow.
Oh, now to find. I think it's the end. The Batman pauses before the open tombs of the vampires. Never again will you bring any mortal being.
Ew.
Will you harm any mortal being? Just shoots him. It's so funny that Batman is so often portrayed as anti-gun. These early ones, he's like, I'll just shoot him.
2 bullets. I'm only making 2.
There's so many caskets, too. The spell is broken and life returns once again to Julie. I don't know who you are, but you saved my life and I shall be forever grateful. Finis. A new intriguing Batman story every month in Detective Comics. So.
I love these old detective comics. The art is fantastic.
Yeah, we haven't done one of these in a long time. I think we did the very first one.
Uh-huh.
But there's all sorts of goodies in here. We might have to get, because I think the Chronicles are like highlights throughout different eras. So this is the very first one, 30s and 40s, but it'll be fun to look at maybe some of the 50s and 60s one. Especially because he gets so in the 50s and 60s, he gets so goofy. He's like traveling to space and stuff. And there's
Oh, yeah.
You remember Batmite, the little like Mr.
Oh,
Mixaplick.
yeah.
So
Well,
that
in the
would be
last
fun.
Batman that we did, it was where he was the criminal, which was an interesting take too.
Oh yeah, it's funny how one character can evolve so much over time.
Mm-hmm.
Just have limitless areas to explore. Those ears.
And right here, he's doing the backbreaker on himself.
Yeah, it looks like he's just falling prone. Oh, I'm
Like a
doing a
bullet.
somersault. Yeah, the action. I mean, it really makes you appreciate the how they're able to convey action in
Oh, right,
the
yeah.
more sophisticated comics. I mean, after the medium developed over decades.
Yeah. There's something to
Something
be
like-
said for the beginnings of a character's myth. It's fun.
So if you enjoyed watching this, give us a like and a subscribe, and we'd love to see your comments as well. And thanks for watching.